Ella from Santa Rosa, California, KFIA. Hi, Ella. Welcome to New Life. Thanks for calling
Hi,
us.
thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
So, and I appreciated the suggestions for having a happy holiday, of having a happy Thanksgiving. My question is, how do I set healthy boundaries? And maybe it's an expectation thing too, just in order to have a healthy dynamic within myself, and then leading up to spending time with family. I just feel like this is the only thing in my life that has been stressing me out the way it is. And
What's so stressful about getting with your family? What happens?
well, it's not my family; it's my husband's family,
Okay.
and we live across the country from them. But
Yeah.
then they come out for a couple months,
2 months.
and
Wow.
do these, yeah, and do these um, like projects. And so they're a couple hours away, so it's not like they're right there. But there's always like this unknown about the plans for like when are we going to see them, how much time we spend with them. And my husband, I think, way of dealing with it is just kind of last minute. He'll plan something, but it's been like affecting me because I'm kind of a
Yeah.
planner. It's like, okay, I want to plan my life, and I know they have
All
expectations
right.
of how
Now,
much they want to see us.
okay. Now, here's a question. Do you think your husband is the problem, or do you think they're the problem?
I think they're the problem.
I don't.
No? Okay.
No, I think your husband needs to take control of the situation, needs to connect
Yeah.
with his wife, see that you have this need. You don't want the spontaneous in-law interruption. You want to be able to plan for it a little bit. It's your home. You don't want them
Uh-huh.
just to show up and it might be dirty or subject to criticism. So
Yeah.
I think you need to talk with him, and you might need to get a counselor, a pastor involved, so that he hears your need, and it's his parents. He's the one that can meet that need. Now let's hear from Mylan and Sherry and see what they think.
Well, this is a great question, Steve, because Ellie, does your husband turn into the little boy when they show up?
You know, it's like he kind of flips back and forth. Like he can take control of the situation, and he'll say, "This is when we can see you," type of thing. But then when they're there, it's kind of like he just turns into this different kind of person.
Well, see, that's what's really why you're in a tailspin, isn't it? You're not sure which husband you're going to get.
Kind maybe. I mean, it's like so. Lately, he's been resorting to just kind of like shutting down when they're there and like taking a nap,
Okay, well, you
which
see,
leaves me with them.
I know.
That's one way to
So,
get control of the situation, right?
well, yeah, or
Yeah.
right, control of his emotions,
Right.
which is to avoid them and to go
Right.
take a nap. So,
Isn't that a
so
nice way to handle problems though?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
just nap.
Yeah, take a nap.
Yeah.
But see,
Right.
Steve, your question is such a great question as a starting point. What is causing the stress? And really, it's the absent husband.
Yeah.
So how do we get the absent husband back into the name of the game, or back into the game? And that's really what you're dealing with here. And I think you really
Yeah.
need to tell him that. And I would take what Steve said as a starting point. You need to have a very intentional meeting with your husband and just say, I don't know if you understand this pattern, but when your parents get here, you either go away or you sort of check out. And
Exactly.
it leaves me in a very distressed place, and I need you to
Yeah.
be more a part of the game. How are we going to solve this?
If you can't
Right.
if you can't stay with me, then ask them to leave.
Right. Right.
If you can't
And
stay
so
with me, tell
yeah.
them not to come.
His thing now is I haven't exactly expressed what you're talking about, but I've sort of communicated that to him, and his response now is to go into this extreme kind of over dramatizing things, saying you hate my parents, this and that, and I'm
Okay.
like, no, I don't hate your parents. That's
Hey,
ridiculous.
well, let
But
me
then
ask you
to the
this.
point,
Why haven't
yeah,
you, when he goes to take the nap, why haven't you just gone in there and laid down beside him?
because he's laying on the couch, like we'll be like
Oh. Well, then why
eating
don't why
dinner.
okay, so why don't you go back in the bedroom or something
Okay.
and leave
Yeah.
him there? Don't feel responsible
Okay.
by
Yeah.
because you are the responsible one, obviously, or you're the uninjured one, obviously. Sherry,
Well,
what do
and
you
it's
Yeah.
think?
it's really not your family. You know,
Right.
I'm guessing that your husband has grown up with this. I mean, they're really trying to stay in control. Really, his it sounds like his folks are
Totally.
kind of controller kind of people. So
Oh,
this is what they
completely.
do. They keep everybody on eggshells so that they have their
Yep.
agenda the way that they want it, and they've trained the
Right.
family to follow
Yep.
likewise. So,
Exactly.
what's interesting to me is that your husband picked someone who also likes to be in control.
Oh yeah, I know.
Hmm.
It is
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
I see that now.
So I think sometimes why he might react to you in that way is because he's kind of a bit reacting to you in the way that he'd probably like to react to his parents.
Yeah.
Is to have
Sure.
kind of a little drama moment. Stop it, Mom and Dad. This is really bothering me. But
Exactly.
I think, what both Mylan and Steve said is there's a growth step for your husband in being able to confront his own fear to do that.
Yeah.
Because it probably is not going to change. I mean, that's the frustrating thing in a family system. You have to really work on changing yourself because the likelihood that
Right.
his parents are going to change,
Right.
the only way other people change is when we change. When
And-
we
and-
change,
Exactly.
it starts to
and-
send the ripples through the crowd.
And part of that isn't necessarily a conscious decision to be controlling and to be these mean people. What
Right.
happens is I start off with a little boy,
Mhm.
and he's my
Right.
little boy. And so I
Yeah.
have this relationship with him, and I fail to realize he's grown up and left and cleft.
Yeah.
Right.
He left, he got
Right.
married. And so the family stays doing the same thing it's done for
Right.
20 years.
You're right, Mylan.
And
Right.
so it doesn't know how to change until
Yep.
somebody rises up and says, I had to do this with my mom one day. At 40 years old, she said to me, 39, she said, be a good boy and just do what I tell you to do. My dad had
Oh
died.
my God.
And I had to say, Mom, I'm not your little boy anymore. And I won't agree with you and just do what you say. I have
Yeah.
a different opinion. I'm different than Dad. Dad's gone now. It's just you and me. I'm so sorry, but that doesn't work with me. Would you please not ever do that again? And I had to change the rules. And,
Yeah.
and she cried. She pulled the cry card and all that. And I can understand why to change things would make her feel uncomfortable, but I had to do it.
Yeah. I mean,
Does that help at all?
Well, yeah, it does. But the problem is my husband's already like super defensive about the situation.
He's super what?
So
Defensive?
defensive.
Well, you know what? Maybe it's more than a conversation. It's what she does when they come over. I mean, if this is something that causes this big outburst, maybe she just waits. They come over, he falls asleep, and she finds something else she needs to do in another part of the house.
Or she could even be so bold as to say to the mom and dad, Ellie, you could say, so how long has your son been checking out on you like this? Has he been doing it since
Did he do
was...
this? Yeah.
Uh,
Did he do this when he was a kid?
6, 8, 10, 13?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know?
yeah.
I think that might be a better way to do it than just since they've talked about this so much and it's gotten nowhere.
It would be interesting to get the parents' approach.
But
Yeah.
have you talked about it, Ella? That almost feels frightening as I hear the guys say that. I mean, I get the intervention. I like it, but, I could hear some
Well-
hesitancy in your voice. Like, how do I tell his folks that without also being ousted by my husband?
Well, I already feel like they look at me as kind of the bad guy somehow.
Okay.
Part of my problem, I think, is that I feel like the bad guy, and I don't want to be the bad guy.
Uh-huh.
I don't want to be his fall girl. Like, okay, they can just blame me because I don't want to spend time with them. Because he says, oh, I'll spend as much time with them, as you're comfortable with. So then it's like all up to me,
Yeah.
But I think I like Steve's idea of it seems very comfortable to just go pull away and go take a nap. And if they get upset with you, well, my husband was sleeping, so I just thought I'd take the opportunity
Right.
to also just take a little nap until he's, up and we're ready to be with you guys.
I think the mistake is maintaining the status quo,
Mm-hmm.
and she's the only one that can change it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me send you a copy of How We Love. It's Mylan and Kay's book. I think you'll really like it. And right along with it, I'll send you Regret-Free Living. And I hope that will be a blessing to you. Anybody else interested in those resources, we have those and many, many more available at newlife.com and 1-800-NEW-LIFE.